Welcome everybody to the Star Wars CCG Facebook graded group update for the month of June. This is very exciting because we have our famous JP, but we also have Luke with us, as it has been a record-breaking month in May, which we will get into. So awesome to have you guys both here and squeeze this in. We're going to go through a few things here today. We're going to talk about last month's contest, the upcoming contest and prize support, group updates, card show updates, and some other around the horn updates, as well as graded sales and sealed sale updates from prior month, and anything we else have going on with our collections and registries, and sign off from there. So let's dive right into the contest. So JP, do you want to tell us who has won the highly competitive lowball category?
Yeah.
Nothing but lightsabers, right? Or lightsabers in the card category.
Right. That was, I think we initially were going to have a lit lightsaber, but we just settled on just having a lightsaber, which a lot of cards came out of the woodwork, which was really, really awesome. And yeah, low ball was just one submission. The winner for that's going to be Brian Emery.
Yes.
He had a great low ball. And don't forget, I mean, there's a few categories out there. You dig your cards out and showcase
Yeah,
them.
he had a PSA 5 Maul with lightsaber foil and a PSA 6 Maul's lightsaber foil. So good low ball submission there. Love to see that more competitive. But that is for July. Stay tuned for July's super low ball contest.
Yeah.
All right, unique category. So third place, well, that doesn't really matter. I'll put myself as third. Second runner-up for unique was Taylor Armstrong's PSA 8 Maul's double-bladed lightsaber and PSA 8 Maul's lightsaber foil. Kind of a cool combination there. Pretty neat, but ultimately we have to give the unique category to Derek Marsh's HGA Custom 8.5 Mara Jade foil and 8.0 Luke Rebel Scout foil, also with custom slab label. So that was pretty cool. Awesome job. Derek will be walking away with, if I didn't say Brian Emery was walking away with the Radiant 7 slab. And Derek will be walking away with this custom HGA IG-88 with Riot Gun slab. And now for the top category, would you like to roll out who third place is, JP?
Yeah. For third place, which of course this usually gets where the most submissions are, and it's really tough to grade. We gave Max Fox third place with submission of Luke Rebel Scout PSA 9 and Luke with lightsaber PSA 10. So
foil,
great grades and tough to get. It was a good submission.
Yeah, good submission. I'll do second place. I'll leave first for you. Second place. This also was also very close, so to think about these for a bit. But Michael Lockwood, BGS 9.5, Obi-Wan's lightsaber Japanese, and Vader's lightsaber Japanese. Just so you know, on the subcategories, there were 3 9.5s and 1 10 on both of those slabs. So an impressive all-around slab submission for that. And ultimately, the winner, JP,
is going to go to Robert John. He had Darth Vader with Saber Enhanced, PSA 10. Also, Darth Vader with Saber Ref 3 with PSA 10. So both from PSA 10. You don't get any better than that. Great submission. Cards are beautiful. Good job, Robert. Congratulations.
Yeah, good job, and congrats on winning this Devastator slab. So very glad we have prize support with this. I'd love to see more submissions. I know you guys loving these prizes. All right, so for the next month, this is June, right? So for the month of June, we have Rebel officers. If you remember from 2 months ago, we did Imperial officers, we took a break, did this lightsabers. Now we're on to Rebel officers. Prize support for this month includes Lando with Blaster Pistol Enhanced, PSA 8. Mayo Japanese, PSA 6. And Foil Sense, which is a tournament foil, BGS 9. So very nice prize support here for this month. And for the following month of July, we will be doing the lowball card, since we have not had a lot of lowball love. But I know there's a lot of low-numbered slabs out there. I know you guys are hiding them. Don't be embarrassed or shy. Now's your chance. And the prize support for July, drum roll please, is going to be a Death Star 2 booster pack. Whoa, that's going to be the top prize. Second prize, I think we'll do a New Hope booster pack. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Good second prize. So yeah, looking forward to seeing your worst cards in their best light.
That's right.
Cool. And yeah, I guess we haven't come up with the next categories for August, September, but I have some ideas on that. So we'll come up with that later. Okay, moving on. Card show updates. Anything in your neck of the woods, JP?
There are a couple coming up. I've just been on vacation and I got to travel for work. But I'm looking into seeing to get vendor tables. This area is just so busy with it. I never get callbacks from whoever's coordinating it, and I'm trying to get all the way out to December to see if somebody would call me back. But I think I'm just going to have to go to it, find out who's doing it, and get in contact person to person. And hopefully next month we'll have some kind of an update of having our very own vendor table. That's nothing but Star Wars CCG graded cards, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm excited about it.
I love it. Luke, I heard, weren't you hosting a Star Wars CCG tournament event in your basement?
Yeah, it's funny. Hey guys. So Oregon State tournament will be in my basement, surrounded by uncut sheets. I think so far we've got 14 people registered, which is great. Last year I went to this event. I think the reason it's in my basement is that all of the card shops have like a Magic expansion being unveiled on the day that we had already put aside for this. So last year when I went, the card shop, I think there's like 6 guys, maybe 8. And so like, seems like we're doing pretty well. And I'm excited to host, man. Like I don't actually play, I just collect, but it'll be fun to host a bunch of people over here, get in some cards and experience a fun environment around.
Well, you get to see him play it at a
yeah.
Level,
I get to see him play it.
That's probably going to suck you in, right? So
no, right. Yeah, I'll try to see if I can document it as well.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds
awesome. Yeah, I remember at least in Seattle, there were definitely people still playing in there. I think they have a somewhat active community. I don't remember what they call it. This Endor region?
It is Endor, yeah. It's Endor. So there's actually people from 3 different states flying up to come to my basement, which we definitely enjoy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. In the month of May, I rendezvoused with John Guzik. We went to the Philly Card Show. They do that twice a year. It was the 80th Philly Card Show, and they do a lot of stuff on like Garbage Pail Kids, and of course there's Pokemon stuff there, and retro cards. But they do have a good amount of tables that have Star Wars cards. I did see Star Wars Unlimited tables. I did see a lot of top Star Wars tables, but there was some tables where they just had so many cards, and I was like, filtering through the mix of however they organize them, and you go through one box, and then there's some Star Wars CCG cards in there, which I was very surprised to see. They're basically selling cards like rares for like 10 cents a piece, like really cheap. I mean, this guy clearly has so many in boxes. It's like, like 10 for $1. I think I picked up some Young Jedi, like all super rares. Like I picked up like Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, like Luke, like crazy stuff. Like I don't even remember. It was just like, I know these cards are worth more than 10 cents. So like I stacked up on those, I was like, why not? But I didn't pick up any Star Wars CCGs because I didn't need like loose random Cloud City red rares, but I thought that was kind of interesting. I did find out that to get a table, it costs to host one like $125, I think, for the weekend.
That's not bad.
That's not unreasonable. I mean, I think if I were to host a table, I would want to be in on it with maybe 1 or 2 other people. I know I've talked to Richie about it because I know they have card show. It's like a similar show, but like in Dulles. It's like a non-sports card show. but it's always a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get with those, like what people are looking for. But it's most certainly not Star Wars CCG like at the top of the list. There was a little bit of One Piece there, but yeah. So the next Philly card show will be in October, but I'm going to keep my eyes open for anything in the East Coast region where I'm at, perhaps anywhere from DC to New York. So if anybody's in that region knows of anything, let me know. Okay, so I also want to, moving on, thank everybody who took the PSA registry email template and reached out to PSA. I think we will do better in numbers if we just remind them that it's important to us. And as we continue to submit slabs, they have to be keeping score at some point of how many of these Star Wars CCG cards are coming their way. At this point, I've noticed a lot of cards, like when you're trying to put in a card to submit, there's like a 70% chance it's been submitted before. So they might have a picture of it and you don't have to like manually type out every card. I mean, I still do that for some Japanese, but surprisingly, there's a decent amount in there where I don't have to manually write everything out. So I haven't heard anything. I don't know if anybody else got any responses back. We'd love to hear back if you did. But I think we just got to stay on it and keep reminding them we exist. We were briefly mentioned in that PSA magazine, right? Of just like, Star Wars CCG happened and then it went to, Wizards of the Coast, tanked and blah, 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 moved on. So that was kind of disappointing. I think they kind of missed a shot or missed a chance to kind of highlight that. But I know, JP, you said you were submitting stuff to them possibly to add for an editorial. Maybe I'll have to put together something to talk about with that too when I feel like there's enough showcase slabs maybe to speak about that would generate enough interest. There's certainly enough nice mains out there to highlight stuff. I mean, English, Japanese, wouldn't matter. Foils, non-foils. I think there's certainly beautiful cards. I don't know what their holdback is, but
well, and I'm hoping what Luke's going to be sharing here shortly is going to really, stir up the industry and start inspiring people. So hopefully somebody's going to start taking notice because this was an unbelievable month. I know you can't ignore it. I mean, there's so many. I was looking back like just 2 years at some of the conversations, and people like that's never going to go anywhere, and don't waste your time. And it's like every month just keeps getting better. So they're going to start to take notice pretty soon.
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, with Luke's support of putting together this massive compilation of data in real time, we can see where everything is standing and growing. And there's no more speculation or wondering. It's the numbers are there, right? And you've pretty much scoured the internet worldwide, right, for some of these sales. Now, granted, I'm sure it's difficult to find out anything kind of pre like 3 years ago of like the outside trades and stuff. But like at that point, that's almost negligible, really, because of where it is right now.
Yeah, we're really fortunate that like the graded expansion for this hobby has really just like blown up the last few years, which is like the ability that I have to track down data goes back 3 years on eBay. And so like I'm pretty confident that we have almost 100% of all of the auction data from eBay for any graded card. I mean, there's certainly some way back in the day old PSA slabs that like on PSA's website they like have data points on that I went back and pulled those as well. There were some wildly low PSA 10s like back in the day. JP shaking his head because he told us in that group chat that he lets them go for way less than they'd be worth now. But like, yeah, I'm reasonably confident that we have, at least for the last 3 years, very good up-to-date data from pretty much everywhere.
So let's transition into this. You kind of, speaking about graded sales,
yeah,
give us the rundown. You kind of laid it out with us in the group, but
I wanted to really jump on this month in particular. I mean, it's May the 4th, right? But then that turns into a lot of just Star Wars awareness. And that, for whatever reason, prompted a new sales record for graded. So I put this in the group at $24,735 worth of sales, which is over 1,000 more than the previous high of any month we'd ever had. And that previous high was only 2 months ago, right? Like March. This is really taken off to the point where there is a lot of interest. There was, let's see, how many total sales? 255 tracked graded sales, which I update pretty much every night. It's one of the things I do after the kids are in bed. There's sometimes I'll go 2 or 3 days away, but like for the most part, like it's me kind of in, like you said, real time or daily seeing like what's happening here. And there's some pretty major things that happened this last month. So I wanted to jump on and note a couple. So we had some PSA 10 Darth Vader Japanese, 2 of them that Surge had, each went for $3,000, which is the second place all time. It's tied for second place all time on our tracker, which again, I'm reasonably confident, unless there's some sort of private sale that is not a part of this group, that's never been unveiled to us. You know, I do a pretty good job, I feel like, and Cam and Mark do too, of like before I arrived saying, hey, if you have any information about private sales, please let us know for transparency. So like I said, like I think we're pretty good at tracking this sort of stuff. So $3,000 each for a Darth Vader PSA 10 Japanese is huge. Like that, obviously, we're far and away like bumping up our this month above like every other month around there. But we had some other pretty high ones, man. You guys can see the chart here. Boba Fett PSA 10, Obi-Wan Kenobi Japanese 10. That Kyle, you had that purchase. Like Krillin Corvette foiled. Like there was some high.
It's just too tempting. Like, I need that Vader Japanese too. So I'm like rolling my eyes, like, oh, it's like only a matter of time, you know.
Right.
Like,
well, the market's been set there. So
that C3PO Japanese Sergey sale was also mine, I think.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, the graded side of things, there has been a lot of interest, a lot more sales. Like I can't even imagine. Cam and Mark used to update the sales tracker monthly. They told me that would take so much time now. Like 255 different data entry lines. I mean, we're talking about over the course of the month, like hours worth of work here. But usually it's like maybe 10, 15 minutes each night for me. And I enjoy that. Like, again, my job is a teacher and I do a lot of data entry as well for my stuff. So it's fun to be able to update. But yeah, the expansion has meant, the attention has meant that like there is just so much out there. And Kyle, you alluded to earlier with PSA that like when you write in, okay, what's the actual card? And like it'll already be on the database. So I find it really interesting as I'm adding cards to the tracker, like what's new, like what's never been touched before. For example, this month, first time ever, Queen's Royal Starship, both Reflections 3 and I think it was Coruscant. It was one of the episode 1 sets. It might have been Theed. But in any case, they had never appeared before in the Graded or Sealed tracker, and then they both appear this month. We're getting into the point where like almost, yeah, it feels like it's such a long list. It's like almost every card from the entire thing has been graded and sold. So there's some way for you to have some sort of like sense of, well, how much is this worth?
We'll have to celebrate when we finally get the last Star Wars CCG card that's possible to grade, like graded. Like it'd be very interesting to see what that is. You know,
it's amazing you guys are chipping away so much of this. So
well, I'm definitely submitting random stuff. So yeah. I know I have a lot of first time submissions.
There was one day, I think it was May the 4th weekend, where all three of Kyle, Mark, and Cam all had auctions ending that had all had cards that had never been sold before and kind of like set the price on the market. I just thought it was great. Like I love that sort of stuff.
Well, I did remember that Memorial Day weekend sales were typically not good because people are just vacationing, not thinking about it. Yeah. And of course, May the 4th is big, not only from Star Wars related sales, but also Star Wars related content views. So that's why I had like a Star Wars Japanese premiere video drop on May the 4th, because the previous year I did a Reflections 2 video, and that also gets a lot more traction.
And like, we've got a new Star Wars TV show, Disney Plus, The Acolyte.
Yeah, The Acolyte comes out tomorrow.
So like that's going to be some more kind of awareness focus as well.
What I find interesting on this is everything until you get to a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight PSA 6 is either Japanese or a foil.
Well, there's the Boba Fett up top there, but yeah.
Yeah,
like,
well, okay. Yeah, right. So, okay. So the Boba Fett Cloud City 10 is like an ultimate chase, right? Because so many 9s exist out there, right? 8s and 9s of that card. But I'm looking at these, Japanese Obi-Wan Kenobi or Darth Vader, right? Like Japanese cards are slightly less common, right? Like a little harder to come across for sure. However, when you do come across one, it's much, much, much more likely to grade a 9 or a 10, unless it's just a really bad batch and it's off center, right? They just grade really well. Like they're nice cut quality cards. Like I don't have the same concerns on corners and edges that I do of the English version. So you might be able to find more of the English black border one, but the likelihood of it grading high is worse, right? So I'm like trying to weigh this in my head of like we're putting values right now on like a lot of these like Japanese cards and foils because people have stored them poorly and they get scratched up and stuff.
That's right.
That is an interesting balance, right? You know, because like yes, Darth Vader is arguably they printed a lot of them, but most of them are not going to get a 10, or they've all been handled in blade or whatever. So now you have to rip new product pretty much and then hope it's in good shape, right? But it's probably not, you know? So it's an interesting dynamic in game, right? Like I'm more confident when I rip open Japanese stuff that like I have a Japanese submission. I think I submitted like 66 cards. Like I'm pretty confident that like most of those are going to come back 9s, maybe a few 10s, and then like very few 8s, like without even looking. Like I feel pretty good about that. But when I send in like the English stuff or the foils, mixed bag, you know, it could be 7s, 8s, a few 6s or 5s thrown in there. I don't know how, you know, it could be a mixed bag, and that's not changing like the way I'm looking at them or anything. Like sometimes, you know, they might be okay, but I don't know. It's less variant. So very interesting. We're seeing where people are placing their value on some of these, you know. You also wanted to highlight sealed, right? So we have
that's the next tab over. So I thought this was really interesting, especially as it correlates to graded, right? Like sealed product and people opening sealed products to chase graded stuff. So some really unique and interesting things happened this past month as well. The first case of sealed product we've ever had graded or like in the tracker. So $3,250 for a sealed case of 6 booster boxes, Premier. Amazing data point. Super cool to see. But then I also thought this was really interesting. A Reflections 3 box sold on eBay for $2,100, best offer. And that's probably $1,000 below where I think a Reflections 3 box is probably worth. And so I reached out to the seller and was like, that was maybe a little bit below. Can you tell me what happened here? The seller just wrote back like, yeah, it's a valid data point, and I was just really motivated by time. I needed to get the money on my hands right away. And I was like, okay, wow, thanks for sharing. But a couple other things that were interesting this month. We had our highest ever Dagobah limited box sale. It was almost $1,000. But then later that same day, a same one went for $450. So I don't know if someone was just like, I need a Dagobah now to chase like the ultimate like Grail Yoda PSA 10, which has not ever happened so far, or whatever have you. But a couple of feed boxes were sold. Like just a really interesting variety here of different boxes. And I do want to also note for just the community is that on the far column, the sale note, if on eBay, the title doesn't include Star Wars CCG box, I try to say this is what it said, because I think sometimes
I was just going to ask you about that. Like what people are titling might be affecting how they're
right. I think the effect is that sometimes the sellers don't know or just skip over some pretty key search terms that people have clued into. So like,
what about category? Have you noticed with like categories?
I don't even know.
Like,
I have my search term set up
like
for all of eBay, so I don't know if people have specific categories, but yeah, like Decipher Star Wars Special Edition booster box, where it doesn't say card, it doesn't say CCG, it doesn't say customizable. Like there's a lot that they're missing there. And so it would not be surprising to me that some people don't have that search term keyed up. So that's another sort of tip, I guess I thought was interesting.
Oh, 100%. I definitely have found great deals on stuff that was not labeled right. Not even just from Star Wars CCG, just like people have posted autos, you know, with like out the name in there, you know, or like without the set and the year, Like, I don't know, like just obscure stuff. And I'm like, this should be like way more expensive, but you didn't label this or categorize it correctly. If you put it under like sports miscellaneous or something, or like, random box goods or something, as opposed to like non-sport card single or non-sport card sealed product. Like there's categories that like it's going to dump into. So when you save that term, it's generally saving it under like a category. Like I have a whole bunch of saved things. I'm sure everybody does, right? I have like Star Wars CCG Graded, like as a search, and it's like, okay, if it doesn't pop up like that, then I'm not going to see it. Because I'm not going to individually hunt down every search term for, every variation of it. If maybe you only use SWCCG versus Star Wars, or when they put in Japanese, sometimes they just put like Takara, Decipher, like they don't call it out CCG necessarily per se. And like I'm like, okay, no one's gonna find this.
Yeah, that was a lot of like the detective work that needed to happen in order to me to feel like the sheet was pretty much up to date. It was like me trying pretty much every search term I could think of to go find history, and you just pulled like totally random stuff from like 3 years ago. Like how did they make this mistake? I felt like in terms of just the title of it.
Well, it's safe to say they're not avid collectors. Like somebody probably came across it in their, whatever, and they just posted it to get rid of it. Like when one of the key things I look for is if somebody's posting something for sale and it's like labeled strange, I look to see what other things they have for sale and what other things they have like maybe have sold recently, like in their feedback. And if there's nothing about like Star Wars CCG in there, then I know it's something they just stumbled across and like are just throwing out there, especially like on bulk lots and stuff. If I find a bulk lot and there's like Star Wars CCG things listed across and they've sold Star Wars CCG, like they have a good idea of what's in that box, like they've already filtered through, and they should be able to post what rares or interesting cards are in there. And if they don't, then like there's really nothing in there. Right. But if it's somebody like just, I don't know what these cards are, my neighbor gave them to me, and I sell like, dolls for the most part on eBay, it's like, okay, this person has no idea. So maybe there's some gems, maybe not. I don't know. But that's like one of the things I look at on some of these listings. Very interesting, though. I think if you're going to post something, like you said, like on auction, it's a wild bag. It's just like whoever's paying attention. And on the timing of some of these things can sometimes end at weird times where like, I'm not looking at like 1 PM when an eBay auction is ending. Like I generally will miss it. Even if I'm trying to track it, like it's just hard because there's work, there's school and kids and whatever, it's just like posted in the evening, or it's like 5 AM it ends. It's like, okay,
I think most people know this, but like the main ones where I have a ton of data entry to do is Saturday or Sunday evening. Every Sunday evening, most auctions end, and that, it's definitely prime time. I think most sellers have figured that out, but I do think it's an interesting balance because some sellers, like some big Star Wars CCG sellers, I think know that if they ended on a different day, that they might have 100% of the eyes on that day on their stuff. And so there's a few that will like sell throughout the week, but for the most part, like the Sunday auctions are where we're getting most of our data points from.
Yeah. Well, at this point, like if I want people to see it, I'll put it for 10 days, post it on Thursday, set it for a weird time, like 8:42 to end or 8:17 or something, some odd number, because everyone's going to put 8:00 or 8:30 or 8:15, So like, I don't want one of those numbers. I want something that's off. Just so that I hate it when people post like 10 things at once and they all end at the exact same time. It's like, how am I supposed to track all this? Like, of course, all of them are going to get sniped, and then you win none of them. It's like, that's maddening. Don't do that. Give 2 minutes at least between each auction. That would be my 2 cents, having sold thousands of things, right? So, okay. Well, any final thoughts, speculations, concerns?
JP, is there a graded group update from this last month? I don't know if we got to that. Like,
so just a couple of quick notes. It's been pretty quiet. We did create a third rule. Ooh. So we've only got 3 rules, and this rule is a very important one. You now have to coin your images if you want to sell directly in the group. That just means put your name and the date along with the pictures. Hopefully the name matches what your account is for Facebook. We haven't had any trouble since we created this rule. We've called a few people out. They fixed the picture, and I haven't heard anybody getting into any situations. So it looks like we're doing pretty good with that. We were supposed to clear over 800 members this month, but we're staying pretty steady at between 796 and 799. So I see it go up a couple and then it comes down a couple. So it's been really weird. Usually we've had a lot of great, strong months where 20, 30, 40 people have joined in a matter of a couple of weeks. I think we had 15 in one day. So we haven't got over that hump for 800.
Very close.
So,
very close. Looking at it every day, though.
and again, we're a nice, tight-knit group. We watch out for each other. We deem it kind of an ecosystem, how we treat each other, and it's not so much competition against each other, where it's more us against the grading services, and we're here to help you. So if you're wanting to jump in and start grading, you have lots of group experts and lots of people that have tried a lot of different inspections, and they have their own style and they're doing really good with it. So I'm just seeing better and better grades coming back. So let me see if I've got anything else. We talked about the mass mailing, members, winners, the new rule, and the highlight's been the sales. So we've actually been, there's kind of like a governance group that we sidebar, and we kind of been watching it all month, knowing something big's about to happen. So that was the big talk, is the big sales. So keep it up.
I will say, if you have sets that you're pursuing and they're not actively up on PSA yet, make a showcase and make it public, and feel free to share that. I am now updating my showcase for Japanese Premiere, and I posted my second and third anthology sets, as well as Rebel Leaders and some other sets that are not actively listed. Just if anybody was curious to know what slabs I have and what I'm chasing, you can see what's there in real time. In fact, I've updated it just today. I have 115 Japanese Premiere slabs. And all of those, let's see, 2 of those are 8s. 40 of those are 10s. So I have about 35% 10 ratio right now, and 35% of the set itself right now. So always looking for more, but I have plenty to submit. So if you want to follow along that journey as I continue to talk about that, feel free. But I would also love to see everybody else's sets. I know they're going for other stuff too. So I'm very curious to see what's out there.
Someone in the group talked about going for a Death Star 2 complete set. I saw that the other day too, which is great.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah.
It's badass. Yeah. Pick one, go for it, go deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. I mean, once you start submitting, they've always got specials for Star Wars and TCGs all the time. And you don't have to do PSA. I know they got specials. The other grading services are still pretty reasonable. And, I've got 3 or 4 sets that are showcased right now that are public. And I'm pursuing New Hope Japanese. I'm a BGS guy.
Did you win that box? Did you win that A New Hope box? The Japanese A New Hope box that just sold?
No, I don't need it. I've got sets of it. I'm at 81 cards, which is like half the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like half the set already, and I've still got the rest. It's just crazy that I'm grabbing 20 or 30 commons. They're like worth 10 cents, and you're paying for the grading fees. But that's one of the registry sets that's out there, is A New Hope Japanese, and little by little, man, that thing is going way up, and it's in first place. But I ask anybody, just start grading the cards if you want to have registry sets, and then showcase them, and hopefully we'll get around to getting them to publish it by us knocking on their door real hard.
Love it. Well, thank you, gentlemen. This has been another fantastic update. So, look forward to seeing what people submit for June, and any more records breaking. Maybe not. We'll see. Thanks, guys.
All right. Pleasure as always. Take care, guys.